Kevin Smith was the visual effects supervisor on Godzilla versus Kong. I'm at Noble Gold Derby to ask you, Kevin, who was better to do the visual effects for, Godzilla or Kong?
Well, that's an easy question for us to answer because we didn't do any Godzilla shots. Our focus was strictly on the monkey half of the title duo. So
why was Kong better than Godzilla then? What did he bring to the table?
I like the thing that I like most about. I mean, I think our work is pretty great. Like the visual fidelity is pretty great, but I feel like the most interesting thing for me about the whole thing, and the thing I'm almost more proud of, is that you get to take this character who, it'd be really easy for him to just be this rampaging monster, right? And this just a convenient foil for Godzilla to fight with, and you give him an arc. You make him make him this thoughtful protagonist and give him a character arc, and he goes on his hero's journey in the second act, and he's looking for his family, and it let us really give him, it was certainly interesting work because he's on this emotional arc and he's a character with no dialogue. So it's, it really came down to the artistry of all, the animators and lighters and compers and, everything, but like getting all the emotional beats that we needed him to have without speaking, right, just with facial expressions was hard, but it was, I think it was really helpful for the movie.
And you're taking on one of the most iconic characters in cinema history. So
yeah,
sort of what, does that add weight or give you a lot to work with? How, was that a challenge or an asset?
I think we almost kind of just, we kept not so much Skull Island because that's theoretically the same character, but like all the other Kongs we kept at arm's length because you want this guy, you want this iteration of Kong to be unique. So we really didn't pay too much, even though we've done literally at Weta have done a Kong movie before, or we just kind of, we used the technical knowledge from that, but not really, anything artistic.
And yeah, and it must be interesting, like you and the guys from Weta working on the Kong sort of side of things, the Godzilla side of things being done by. What was it like, those sort of two worlds, two teams, like all working on the same project, but you're sort of bringing two sort of film universes together?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad for us. Even though all the work we did was on Kong, we didn't actually do any of the development on the Kong character, the asset wise. He was built and looked at that scan line. So we got all the data from them and ingested it into our pipeline, made sure it matched, and then put all our muscle rigs and facial shape driving technology under it and went from there. But as long as, the beginning for us was doing turntables and here's ours, here's scan lines, here's ours, scan lines, just making sure it's as close to pixel perfect as we can get. And then we knew that we'd be fine. And we just let them, if there was client changes, it went to scan line and they'd send us over a new version with whatever changes they made.
What was the trickiest thing for you guys to get right?
The trickiest thing?
Yeah.
The trickiest thing I think was like as an overarching thing was always scale, because Kong is 100 meters, he's 300 feet tall. It's ridiculous, right? It's like Adam Wingard, like Adam's brief, the director, was like, scale, everything's big and everything's crazy and so Kong's 300 feet tall, which is completely ridiculous. And getting him to, so when he's on all fours and he's running across the lava plains in Hollow Earth, he's going 500 miles an hour. He's standing on 2 feet and he's 300 feet up in the air, and you want to bring the camera up to him and you want to treat him like an actor, because he is an actor. He's not a monster in this creature. He's an actor. So we would light him and treat it and have camera angles on him like he's an actor. But if you do this big crane move around him, that camera is moving at freeway speeds. The camera's moving 70, 80, 100 miles an hour through hundreds of feet, and everything just gets a little wonky. when you want him walking through trees or interacting with stuff, the size and the scale and everything's going fast, and then nothing else that's human sized does what you think it's going to do. So it was a constant, never-ending battle of keeping Kong feeling big, but keeping everything else, especially when you see like this Kong and human characters in the same shot, making kind of both those worlds fit together was always hard. And I'd love to say there was some kind of magic bullet that was like, oh wow, we just did this and then everything was fine. And it was like, no, it was always like little tweaks and cheats and this, that, and oh my God, what do we do? It doesn't feel right. That was the hardest thing.
It was like, yeah, like it's sort of finding consistency in sort of all these like worlds that are sort of from cities to Hollow Earth to like interacting with other monsters, interacting with other people. It must have been sort of tough to get, like find the through line through all of that.
Yeah, well, even like Kong himself, like he's 300 feet tall. How big is a hair on a 300 tall like this, right? Like his hair theoretically is like the size of your head, but you can't do that because then it just doesn't work, especially when he gets close to the little girl a couple times. Or in Antarctica, we had to, after the helicopters put him down, we had to dress his snow into his fur. And you can't put a snowflake on a 300-foot tall monkey because it's just invisible. So it's like, but if you make it the size of Volkswagens, like you can't have boulders stuck in his fur either. So it's like, and it's just every little thing. It's like, how big is stuff? How fast does stuff move? There's always kind of cheat this. And the hard thing is like the audience is pretty savvy nowadays. And if you start cheating with the physics of things, people intuitively know that that's wrong. So it was hard. I think we got there, but it makes it harder, than say a 10-foot tall monkey for sure.
Yeah. What is there a choice that you guys made that you're particularly proud
of? That's a good question. Oh, you stumped me. I think like the one choice, and it was more probably Adam Wingard and DJ, the client's supervisor's choice than us. But I feel like we were involved. It's like one of the biggest questions we had at the beginning was, 4 feet or 2 feet, right? Does he ambulate up on his, is he human-like, or does he go down on all fours? And we did a lot of tests with him, trying to get him up on 2 feet and being more human. And even with his performance, like, do you want a human performance? Do you want an ape performance? And we put him down on all fours, and the performance of his facial performance ended up kind of in a bit of a Goldilocks zone, like not too human, not too monkey-like, because you wanted him to feel, when he got up on 2 feet, he was too much a man in a suit and didn't look right. So we put him down on all four. And the facial wise, if he was too much of a human, it was weird and creepy. And if he was just like, if you made him do gorilla things, then he wasn't special. Like there's nothing that made him stand out from, he was just, he's big, but he's just a monkey. But because you kind of want him, he's special, right? He's the hero.
Like now, when you watch a film like Godzilla vs. Kong, like there's explosions, there's monsters, there's all these sorts of things. You go, oh, special effects are like amazing here. What's something that you guys worked on or did from like special effects that might be less obvious to me watching the film?
You mean special as in like practically done?
I think, yeah, something that you guys worked on in the film that might be less flashy than the explosions and the monsters.
Well, I think that, like, yeah. I think the biggest thing is for us, hopefully, was like that because you've won with a digital character, where after the first couple shots in the movie with that character, that the audience just accepts it for what it is, right? And you stop thinking about it as a digital creature or a monster, and you just accept that that's a character who's going to have emotional beats and do character driven things. And that's the kind of thing where if you get it right, nobody thinks about it, because they're like, oh, Kong was the best. And they're not thinking about that like it's some digital synthetic, actor. And if you get it wrong, it's like, people know that it's wrong and not that they don't necessarily know why. So it's like, it almost becomes, obviously Kong is not an invisible effect because he's this giant monkey on screen, but getting the audience to accept him as a performer is the kind of invisible effect that if you get right, the audience won't think about.
Mm. And like, I guess talking about like the invisible effect of visual effects and stuff, what do you think special about visual effects? What drew you into this profession? What do you think its real asset is in filmmaking and storytelling?
You're free to tell the story you want to tell. Like, you can, given time and money, you can literally do anything you want. Whatever the director or the teller of a story does not need to place any bounds on his creativity. Like, you can just, like, you want to do some insane thing, well, we can figure out how to do it. Monkeys, 400, like a 300-foot tall gorilla fighting Godzilla in the middle of Hong Kong is like, it's crazy, right? But like, if that's what the story you want to tell, we can get you there. Plus, I'm a computer dork from way back, so I like the computers too. So no, it's not just storytelling.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene or moment from the film?
My favorite shot of all the shots we did, and we did a lot of really cool shots we did about 270 shots, and I think over 200 of them are all CG. We didn't have a lot of plates. It's just all the Hollow Earth stuff and the Antarctica plates here and there, but it's mostly digital. But my favorite shot is, there's a shot where in Antarctica they're trying to get the little girl, Gia, is telling Kong, like, hey, go that way, right? Because your family could be in there. They're bullshitting Kong they got to get him through the gate. And he looks away at first, right? He refuses to call. And then she's telling him, no, you got to go that way. And he looks again, and the facial animation is amazing. Like, the animator did such a good job that he turns, and this is a 300-foot tall monkey. He turns, and you can see the thought process on his face where he's like, he's unsure, and then he makes up his mind, and then he goes, and it's amazing. Oh, sorry.
That's fine.
It's really good, because it is this synthetic character, and then that, like, for me in that moment, you put yourself right in his emotional shoes, and you can see him start to turn. The tide turns, and he's like, okay, we're going to do this. And it's all in his face, and it's all without dialogue. And it really, like, I feel like they really got there. It really reads. You see that moment. It's like, for me, after that, Kong, is just a character. He's just another actor in the movie.
We're an awards website at Gold Derby, and very exciting. You guys have made the shortlist for visual effects at the Oscars, because yes, that is one of the categories at the Oscars where they have where there's a shortlist before the nominations come out.
Yep.
What does that recognition mean to you?
Oh, well, I mean, look, I'm in the Academy, and it's not only the recognition of your peers, but it's the executive committee that decides winnows it down to the 10 that we all vote on, and that's like peers of peers. Like, that's like some of the most famous, well-known, well-respected people in the industry, the executive committee of the VFX branch. So, if you can make it to the Bake Off, then you know that you've done something right.
Yeah, no, very much so. And what would it mean to win that Oscar for you? if we you got the nomination stage, and then the winning, so you got two more hurdles.
Two more hurdles. Like, come on, it'd be amazing. It would be amazing. I'd take a nomination. Being nominated by your peers in the Academy branch, the visual effects branch, to me is, like, like, now that I'm here, you kind of get now why they say, like, just getting the nomination is almost as good as winning, because it's just the VFX branch that decides those 5. And like, if you can get past the Bake Off, that all your peers in your branch and Academy really think that you did the best job, and that's pretty amazing.
before all the cinematographers and actors
Yeah.
and directors who think they know visual effects way. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the earlier in your career, one of the films you worked on were the Lord of the Rings series, which the Fellowship of the Ring, you were a shader writer on, which was just celebrated its 20-year anniversary.
Oh,
of that film being released.
I know. Don't remind me. I saw that come up on Weta's like Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and I was like that can't be right. It can't be 20 years.
Back when you were a humble shader writer before you rose to visual effects supervisor. What's something you learnt on that sort of, what is something from that experience that you learnt that you've carried with you on future projects?
Oh, I think part of that was like, we were, there's a story about a guy who was a mathematician in statistics, and he was late going to class one day. I can't remember his name, but it's a true story. He was late to class one day, and there were problems written on the board, and the guy thought they were homework, and so he went home and he did them. He was like, man, these are really hard, but he figured them out, and he turned them in the next class, and the professor was like flabbergasted, because what he missed being late to the class was that the professor had written 3 of the most famous unsolved problems in statistics. Like, no one had ever been able to figure these out, and because he didn't know that it was not possible for him to bash them out in a week, and he thought they were homework, he did it. And I think that a little bit was us on Lord of the Rings. Like, we didn't know what wasn't possible, so we just did it, and then people were like, oh my god, how'd you guys do all that? It was crazy. You can't do any of that stuff. And we're just like, we just didn't know any better. We're just a bunch of kids going like, let's just do it. And I think that attitude, you can't lose that attitude. Like, you've just like, don't let people tell you can't do stuff. Like, just figure out how to do it and how to get it done.
Yeah. Was there something that you're really proud of having gotten done on Lord of the Rings? What was the thing that was the biggest challenge for you guys?
I think between Joe Letary and Ken McGaugh and myself doing some of the shader work, and the guys who did the textures and the facial stuff, who would have been like Bay Rate, and Darren Bedwell was painting Sergei Nishpal for painting textures, like basically Gollum. Like, I think that was pretty big, the biggest leap forward in visual effects that I've personally ever been involved with, because Gollum was a pretty big leap forward, like showing what you could do with a synthetic actor, and being directly involved with that was pretty good at the time.
Yeah. And with visual effects being the sort of the art of doing the impossible, what do you think something sort of that you may have thought was impossible going into Godzilla versus Kong that you guys were able to accomplish?
Oh, did we do anything impossible? I don't know that we did anything impossible. That's weird to say, but like, there was like, because the work I think is really great, and a lot of it was really difficult, but I don't think there was anything. Yeah, I don't know. That's a possibility. I think I'd have to almost go back to this just making it all work. Making it believable for the audience that you've got this 300 foot tall. So there was no. I think the impossibility was for us was more of an artistic challenge than a technical challenge. It was using all the because of Weta, you kind of stand on the shoulders of giants. We've been doing this for 20 years, so all the built up technology we have. It's finding the artistic way to apply that to the problem of making a believable giant monkey was, I think, for us, the impossible task.
Well, Kevin, thanks so much for talking with us today. All the best of luck with the upcoming Oscar nominations. And then if you get nominated, all the best of luck for taking home the big prize. And people watching this interview can go to goldderby.com, where you can make your own awards predictions. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you so much.